Welcome to this new topic, locomotion. What is locomotion? Locomotion is one of the characteristics of life. We discussed locomotion in the first topic in biology. Locomotion refers to movement of an entire organism from one place to another. Okay? In locomotion, an organism has to take its entire body from one location to another. So trees do not locomote because they do not change position or location, so to put it, but animals do locomote. Okay, so there's difference between locomotion and movement. Locomotion involves movement, but also there must be a change of location. Or movement can be, you can move your hand, that's movement. It has nothing to do with change of location. So locomotion in animals is done with the help of skeletons and muscles. Because of this video we're going to study skeletons, then in the next video we're going to study muscles and joints. What is a skeleton? So a skeleton is any firm structure that gives mechanical support to the body and provides protection to the softer parts of the body. So for example, I think by now we all know what a skeleton is, but of course we're going to take a look at it scientifically. So we have the skeleton, which protects our hearts and other delicate organs in the body. Okay, so it first provides mechanical support, and of course it offers protection to the softer parts of the body. So there are three types of skeletons: hydrostatic skeleton, exoskeleton, and endoskeleton. So these are the three types of skeletons. What is hydrostatic skeleton? What is exoskeleton? What is endoskeleton? So let's visit each of them. So hydrostatic skeleton, the word hydrostatic has this part hydro, which refers to water. So hydrostatic skeleton has to do with fluids. So this is a type of skeleton made of watery fluids found inside the body. Okay, so there is no any hard or firm structure, or maybe the right word is hard structure, but it's entirely made up of watery fluids that makes the body of organism firm. So this type of skeleton occurs in soft-bodied invertebrates such as earthworms, snails, etc. So invertebrates are animals that don't have a backbone. So soft-bodied invertebrates like earthworms, snails, they have a hydrostatic skeleton. However, a snake doesn't have a hydrostatic skeleton because it is not an invertebrate. So what characteristics gives water this property that makes it to be suitable to be a skeleton in these organisms? First, water is relatively incompressible. So what it means is you cannot compress water easily. If you get water, then you try to push it, it's not easy if there is no space for it to escape. So if it is contained somewhere, it is in a container, it's not easy to compress water. It can transmit pressure changes equally in all directions. Okay, so when you apply pressure at one point, this pressure is going to be transmitted everywhere. This makes it possible for water to be used as a fluid for a hydrostatic skeleton. Also, it takes up the shape of its container. So when water is inside an organism, it won't change the shape of that organism. It will take up the shape of that organism. So the way the shape of the organism is, it won't be disturbed. So this is an example of a longitudinal view of or a cross-section view of the body of an earthworm. So if you look at it on top here, on the outside, okay, we have the circular muscles, Then deep inside we have the longitudinal muscles. Okay, then on the just beneath the longitudinal muscles we have watery fluids. Okay, then on the center we have the gut, that is, you know, the digestive tract where food passes and all. Okay, so water is the skeleton that protects this softer part of this organism. So the circular muscles and the longitudinal muscles makes this organism move by peristalsis. Remember the action of peristalsis in digestion. So even these organisms move by peristalsis, where circular muscles relax, longitudinal muscles contract, and the opposite, just like that. Next, we take a look at exoskeleton. So exoskeleton, the word exo means outside. Okay, so because of this, exoskeleton is a type of skeleton located outside the muscles of the body and occurs in all arthropods. Arthropods, remember, in classifications are crustaceans, insects, myriapods, and arachnids. So cockroaches, grasshoppers, that skeleton, it's exoskeleton. If you touch a grasshopper, it's hard everywhere. Okay, so it is filled with it is covered with the exoskeleton. The muscles and everything are inside that exoskeleton. So in insects, this skeleton is also known as the cuticle, and it is made up of a substance called chitin. So this substance, we discussed it in mushrooms, it's there also. Yeah, so this substance is what makes up the exoskeleton for insects. The last one is endoskeleton. Endo means inside. So endoskeleton is a skeleton which is located inside the body and is made of bones and another substance called a cartilage. So this endoskeleton is made of two substances: first the bone, second the cartilage, or two materials, bones and cartilages. Okay, so we're going to take a look at what a cartilage is and what a bone is. So this type of skeleton is found in all vertebrates, such as fish, amphibians, humans. So vertebrates are animals with a backbone. So all animals with a backbone have an endoskeleton. So the endoskeleton of a vertebrate fetus is largely made up of cartilage. Okay, so as adult humans, we have most of our endoskeleton is made of bones and a bit of cartilage. So this cartilage is found in softer parts, as we're going to discuss. Okay, but for fetus, that is babies before they are born, their skeleton is just made up of this material called cartilage. So let's take a look at this cartilage. What is it? So a cartilage is a firm and flexible rubber-like tissue which is made of living cells and collagen fibers embedded in a matrix of chondrin. So this cartilage, it is made of living cells and collagen fibers which are suspended in a substance called chondrin. Okay, so this cartilage is found in firm but flexible parts of the vertebrate body, such as the ear. If you touch your ear, you can't say it is made of just softer tissues. You can feel that it is a bit hard, but again flexible. So that material is cartilage, it's not a bone. The same is also found on your nose. Okay, other parts also, such as the larynx, are made up of this cartilage. The larynx is somewhere on your neck. Okay, so the ear, the larynx, the nose, and also end of bones. Okay, so at the end of bones there is they are what are called there is this substance cartilage. For those who have at some point attempted to to break the bones of maybe chicken when they are maybe hungry lion, at the center it's hard, it's firm, it's difficult, but at the end it's softer. So the softer part, that material, is a cartilage. So some functions of cartilages are it is found between the vertebrae in the spine, which allows the bending of the spine. So our backbone is made up of bones, but these bones are separated. So in between the bones there is this substance, cartilage. That's why we can easily bend despite of having these firm bones. It is found in the trachea and allows it to remain open even when the neck bends. So when the neck bends, it allows the trachea to bend. It is also found in the pinna and the end of the nose and helps keep them firm. The pinna is your ear, so it is found also as material for the ear and the nose. Next, we take a look at bones. So a bone is a tissue made of living cells and collagen fibers, just like a cartilage, but it is suspended in a matrix of calcium, phosphate, and magnesium salts. So bones and cartilages are the same. The chemicals that makes up bones and cartilages are the same. The difference is cartilages are suspended, the living cells and collagen fibers that makes up the cartilage are suspended in the chondrine matrix. Well, for bones it's in the matrix of calcium, phosphate, and magnesium salts. So the long bones of a vertebrate have spongy bone at the end and compact bone in the shaft. Okay, so the shaft is the middle part, then at the ends we have the type of bone called spongy bone. Well, at the middle we have a type of bone called compact bone. So here is a drawing of a bone. So the end, this is called the head or epiphysis, and this middle part now is called the shaft or diaphysis. Okay, so the middle part is made of the compact bone, this compact bone here. Okay, so the compact bone is firm. So in between the compact bone there is a material called bone marrow, and it's yellow, so it's called yellow bone marrow. Okay, then the spongy bone here and here is made up of another bone marrow which is red, and it is called red bone marrow. Okay, then the spongy bone is covered by a cartilage. Next, we take a look at the human skeleton. So this is our skeleton, whether male or female. This is our skeleton. So these various bones of the human skeleton can be divided into different groups. So the first big divisions are two. That is, all these bones can be grouped into two. Okay, so the first are called the or they make up what is called the axial skeleton. The axial skeleton. So this axial skeleton is the skeleton at the middle here. All the bones here makes up the axial skeleton. We're talking about the skull. Okay, we're talking about this bone called the sternum. Okay, so the sternum is a bone that is on your chest. Then we also have the backbone itself. Okay, this makes up the axial skeleton. The rest of the bones on this diagram makes up what is called the appendicular skeleton. So all these here makes up the appendicular skeleton. The axial skeleton refers to the bones that are on the middle of the skeleton: the skull, the sternum, the backbone. Okay, so then these other bones that are just attached to these middle bones are the appendicular skeleton. So now for the axial skeleton, we're going to concentrate or to pay attention to just the backbone itself. Okay, but for the appendicular skeleton we can again group the bones into two. Okay, the first group are what are called girdles. Okay, so girdles are bones that attach other bones to the exoskeleton. So this is the exoskeleton, so there are bones now which attach these other bones to this central or middle skeleton, of course called the exoskeleton. So for example, if we look at these bones here, they are attached to the the exoskeleton through this set of bones here. Okay, so there is a shoulder bone here called the scapula and the collarbone called the clavicle. Okay, so the clavicle and the scapula attaches the hands, so to put it, to the exoskeleton. So these bones that attaches these other bones, the hands and the legs, to the exoskeleton are called girdles. Okay, then other than girdles, these other bones which are now attached by the girdles to the exoskeleton are called limbs. Okay, that is, the hands and the legs are collectively called limbs. Okay, so for the girdles, there are two types of girdles again. Okay, they are what are called pelvis girdle and pectoral girdle. So the pelvis girdle is this bone here. Okay, so this pelvis bone attaches the limbs, which are the legs, to the exoskeleton. Well, these two, the clavicle and the scapula, are called pectoral girdles. So these pectoral girdles attaches the hands, okay, which are also the limbs, to the exoskeleton. Okay, so just a recap, we are on the appendicular skeleton, we can divide them into two. They are limbs and the girdles. Girdles attaches the limbs to the exoskeleton. Girdles are two in type. They are what we call pelvis and pectoral. So the pelvis bones attaches these limbs or the legs to the exoskeleton, while the pectoral, which are made of the clavicle and the scapula, attaches the other limbs, which are the hands, to the exoskeleton. Okay, so this is where we end on the side of the pectoral and the pelvis. Of course, the pectoral, there are two also. There is the clavicle and the scapula. Then the limbs can be divided into two. They are what we call hind limbs and fore limbs. Hind limbs are limbs that are behind. Let's say this creature, if she is crawling, these are going to be behind and these ones are going to be in front. So the limbs that are going to be behind are hind limbs, and these ones in front are fore limbs. In short, hands are fore limbs and legs are hind limbs. Okay, so this is how the various bones are divided. So if we go to the limbs themselves, if you look at the hands, they are made of three bones. This upper bone here, which is from the elbow to the shoulder, called the humerus. Then from the shoulder going to the arm, we have the radius and the ulna. These two, radius and ulna. Then also for the forelimbs, this one, which is from the knee to the hip here, I mean to the pelvis, we have the femur. Then from the knee going back down, we have the these two, the tibia and the fibula. Okay, so these are the classification of bones and all. So next we can take a look at the bones that make up the vertebral column, which are called vertebrae. Okay, so the singular for vertebrae is vertebra. Okay, so the spine is the backbone. So the backbone is not made up of one bone. It is made of different bones which are connected by means of some discs that are called vertebral discs. So each bone that makes up the spinal cord or the backbone is called the vertebra. Okay, so these bones are grouped into 5 categories. Okay, the first category is the cervical vertebrae. Okay, so the cervical vertebrae is found on the neck region here. The cervical vertebrae is found on the neck region and is made of 7 bones. After the cervical vertebrae, there is what is called thoracic vertebra. So thoracic vertebra is found on the chest. From the neck, the next one is the chest. So just below the neck region, just behind the chest, there is the thoracic vertebrae. So this thoracic vertebrae is made of 12 bones. After that, there's the lumbar vertebrae, which is found in the abdominal region or loin, just below the chest, which is made of 5 bones. Then after that, there's the sacral vertebrae, which is on the hip region and is also made of 5 bones. Then the last one is called the caudal vertebrae or the coccyx vertebrae, which is found on the tail region for animals with a tail, and it is made of 4 bones. Okay, so these are the different types of vertebrae, where they are found, and the number of bones that makes them up. Next, we're going to take a look at the general structure of a vertebra, and we're also going to take a look at each of these, how they look. Okay, because in an exam they will bring a drawing of one of these vertebra. They'll ask you what type is it, or they can ask you which region is it found. So you have to know cervical is neck, thoracic is chest, lumbar is abdominal region or loin, then sacral vertebra is hip, then coccyx is tail. So their name structures and numbers vary depending on the region of the spine in which they occur, which I think I've already mentioned this. So this is the general structure of a vertebra. Okay, so it is made of this part here, which is called a neurospine. So this part is used as an attachment for muscles and ligaments. Ligaments, you are going to understand them in the next video when we'll be talking about muscles. So muscles and ligaments attach themselves to this neurospine. Okay, after the neurospine, the next part is this, which is called the neural arc. So the job of the neural arc is to protect the spinal cord. Okay, the spinal cord, remember, is part of the central nervous system. Okay, so the job of the neural arc is to protect the spinal cord. Where is the spinal cord? The spinal cord passes through here, through this opening called a neural canal. Okay, so the spinal cord passes through here, it passes through here, then this part protects the spinal cord, that is the neural arc. Okay, then we have got these projections on the sides called transverse process. Okay, so the transverse process has the same function as the neurospine, that is, it acts as an attachment for muscles and ligaments. Finally, we have the centrum. So the centrum acts as a link between vertebrae, that is, it connects one vertebrae to another. Of course, between this vertebrae and another vertebra, there are what are called intervertebral discs. Okay, so the centrum is attached to the intervertebral discs, and then the intervertebral discs connects this given vertebra to another vertebra. So just a recap. So the neurospine provides a surface for attachment of muscles and ligaments. The neural arc protects the spinal cord. The neural canal is the passage for the spinal cord. The transverse process provides surface for attachment of muscles and ligaments, just like the neural spine. The centrum is a solid central part of the vertebrae whose function is to bind to the intervertebral disc and form a cartilaginous joint with the next vertebrae. Now that we have discussed the functions of the parts of the vertebra, what's the function of the vertebral column? Remember, the vertebral column is the backbone itself. What is its function? Okay, so it protects the spinal cord from mechanical damage. It provides attachment for ribs and girdles. It also supports the body trunk. It of course imparts flexibility to the body trunk due to the presence of the cartilaginous joints. So these are the 4 types of vertebrae that you might be tested on. So the one that we are from, that looks exactly like the one we're from discussing the parts, is the lumbar vertebrae. The lumbar vertebrae, remember, is found on the abdomen. Okay, so it looks like this. Okay, after this we have this one which is found on the neck, the cervical vertebrae. So this is how it looks. You have to know these shapes, the type of the vertebra there and where they are found. Okay, then after that we have this thoracic vertebrae. So the thoracic vertebrae is the one found on the chest. Okay, then after that we have the sacral vertebrae, which looks like a pant, as you can see, and it is of course found in the near the hip region here. So these are the shapes and the names. So this marks the end of the first part of locomotion. Hope you have enjoyed. In the next part we're going to take a look at muscles and joints. Happy solving.